Hi. Hi. Say hi to Trig, kids. Okay, there they are. He just wants to say hello. Okay, so yeah, it's always good to know that you know something, huh? So what do you know? Well, in the past, we have looked at an expression that says maybe the sine of theta equals 1/2. And then the question is, what was theta? And so to do that, what you did was you said, hey, the y is 1/2. That means it's always seen with the x of the square root of 3 over 2. And the square root of 3 over 2 led us to believe that the angle is pi over 6. And knowing where to put that, the fact that sine is positive in 1 and 2, we'd have pi over 6 here and pi over 6 here. So one of our answers is pi over 6 and the other is, I believe, 5 pi over 6. And that's great. That's just all the old information that you know, and we're going to apply some of that here today. Now, just as a reminder, you also know that every trig function is positive in 2 places and negative in 2 places. Let's take sine, for example. Sine is positive in 1 and positive in 2, but negative in 3 and negative in 4. Okay? So we're going to take advantage of that today to accomplish what we want to accomplish next. Just remember that each trig function is positive in 2 places and negative in 2 places. So yeah, the good news about today is you already have all the skills required to do what I'm asking you to do. The bad news is it looks different. And there's a lot of implied things, not directly said. So more of that here is next. So yeah, you're going to see things today as arcsine, arccosine, or arctangent. And so if we say arcsine of square root of 3 over 2, what that means is the angle, that's what this arc translates into, the angle whose sine is square root of 3 over 2. And so what we know is that if the sine is the square root of 3 over 2, the y is the square root of 3 over 2. If the y is the square root of 3 over 2, the x is 1/2. And if the x is 1/2, the reference angle is pi over 3. But notice it says the angle, not both, like we would expect there to be 2. So we have to go find the angle that is closest to 0 where sine would be positive. Well, sine would be positive in 1 and 2, but the closest to 0 one is in 1. And so a reference angle in 1 would be just called pi over 3. Okay, so on your paper here today, I know I worked just a few of these from yesterday, from the example sheet, but one that got by me here was number 3. We should probably look at number 3 just quickly. I don't think I did this but for one class. So we're looking for an angle whose cosine is the square root of 3 over 2, which tells me that the x is the square root of 3 over 2, and the y would be 1/2. The angle is always based off of x, so the angle is pi over 6. But where? Well, cosine is positive, as we note here. It's positive in 1 and 4. Well, there's kind of a tie between which one's the closer one to 0. But that tie is going to be settled, if we can, in a positive direction. So we will always settle a tie by going to the closest positive way if possible. So that would just leave us as the answer is pi over 6. One final one here. We'll go through the arctangent of negative square root of 3. So we're looking for an angle whose tangent is the negative square root of 3. First of all, tangent is defined to be y over x, so I'll slip a 1 underneath there. Then I will realize that the ordered pair is negative square root of 3 and 1. And we can then let the magic show of 2 show up under these numbers. And this is what we've been through in the past. Tangent's a little tricky because it's not just y, it's not just x, it's just y over x. So that magic can happen. Whose angle then is pi over 3. Okay. And where is tangent said to be negative? All students take calculus. It would be negative in 2 and 4. Which one is closer to 0? Well, 4 is. And then we not only want to get to the closest one, but we want to get there the fastest way. So one possible way to get to that radius would be to come around in a positive angle. Another possible way to get to that radius would be to come down with a negative angle. Which one is the closer, fastest way? Probably the negative angle. So we would call this answer negative pi over 3. The other option you might think of is calling it 5 pi over 3, but that is not the fastest way to that. So what does arc mean? Arc means go find an angle that has a tangent of negative square root of 3. Not just any angle, but the angle that's closest to 0, and getting there the fastest possible way. Okay, so now you should be set to work on the actual assignment where you have answers available to check. Please help anybody that was not here when we powered through this yesterday right after your test, so that they are not totally lost. Look out for each other, okay? And I thank you and have a great day.